Hey, Doug Walker here. I just saw the first episode of Muppets Now. This is the latest show from the Muppets. They've had several in the past. I'll try to give you my sum up real quick of what I thought of those past shows. The original Muppet Show, as you probably know, it was a variety show with these puppets, Kermit, Miss Piggy, all those characters. They put on a show, but you also saw behind the scenes stuff. And just so you know where I'm coming from with this show, in my opinion, it was never that funny, but it was very charming. I think the idea of seeing, these celebrities like Elton John and, Mark Hamill and all these people interacting with these little puppets and, pretending they're alive, on top of just how well-defined these characters are and how likable they are, and they work so well off of each other, I think more than makes up for the fact that every time I watch it, I rarely laugh, but it is so imaginative, so charming, it's family-friendly, that it's still very likable. So years later, in the 90s, they tried to bring it back. I think it was one of Jim Henson's last projects I think he worked on, or at least was developing. And it was alright. It was a little awkward. They're trying to recapture the same magic, and I feel like in the 90s, that's not really gonna work with the exact same formula, and it didn't last very long, but it was all right. It was okay. Then we had this show, what is it now, like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even more. I think it was either just called Muppets or The Muppets. This was the Office style show. I think that's how people refer to it. And like many of you, I thought it was just a little too cynical, a little too mean-spirited, which there's always a little bit of that in the Muppets. That's why I think, so many people enjoy them. There is always that hint of cynicism in there, but they're still very innocent, very likable, and there were some funny jokes, but it was just a little too mean, and the setup didn't quite feel right. It felt a little forced. So now we have this show. This is Muppets Now on Disney Plus, and only one episode is out, so it's going to be difficult to judge the whole show just based on this one episode. But a lot of people were even asking, well, what kind of Muppet show is it? Because, we've had a couple different varieties. Even the movies have been very different. The setup is that it's very much the Muppets they are, streaming. Pretty much doing online shows, streaming shows, YouTube shows, Netflix type shows. So you'll have one that's based on beauty. Miss Piggy will do beauty. You'll have one that's based on cooking. The Swedish Chef will do, a cooking show. You'll have an interview show with Kermit, or a profile show with him as well. So you kind of have these different aspects, and what's sort of binding it all together is Scooter is putting it together on his computer, and the Muppets are sending him files of their shows, pretty much. And giving him notes and driving him nuts and so forth. So that's the setup, and just initial quick reaction, if you just want to know what I thought, Cliff Note version. It's cute. It's a little clumsy, but I think there's a lot of promise in it. There's kind of like before, there's not a ton of laughs, but there's just enough where I said, okay, that's good. And in terms of the charm element, again, there's kind of just enough, and I'll tell you what I mean. In the variety shows, if it was only the sketches, I don't think it would do as well. I think a lot of it is behind the scenes, is seeing the Muppets interact off each other, and that's something that is missing for the most part here. You do have Scooter getting the files from the Muppets, and Kermit is kind of talking to him a little bit, but the idea of, the chaos behind the scenes and how they work off each other and the interactions and stuff isn't there as much. And I think that does suck out a little bit of the charm there, because it'll kind of go from sketch to sketch, and, and in the sketches, there's usually more than one Muppet there. You'll have Miss Piggy interacting with a few or something, but it's mainly her. And that is something that I think is going to damage it. I think that's something that hopefully in the coming episodes they add more of that, more of the Muppets interacting behind the scenes. But with that said, my favorite part of this is there's an interview with RuPaul in it, and it's just Kermit interviewing RuPaul. And then slowly but surely other Muppets are coming in, interrupting the interview, very typical Muppets, and asking RuPaul either strange questions or inappropriate questions or mean questions or even ones where, like his life is in danger, like during the interview. And that worked really well because not only are the Muppets interacting off each other, but there's a sense that they're improvising, but it also very clearly has to be planned. Maybe it's all planned. Maybe every single line is scripted and they know what they're going to say, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's half and half. Like maybe they said, here's some bullet points we're going to hit. We have the Muppets ready. We're going to come in. Or maybe here's the scene where Kermit and Miss Piggy talk to each other. Okay, they come in, hit these bullet points. They do the bit. Okay, cut. Now we're going to do the scene where Fozzie comes in and interacts with you and asks a few questions. We'll hit these bullet points, but you can sort of make it up too. They do that cut and so forth. That's what it feels like. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's where it works the strongest because it's kind of that combination of feeling a little unexpected and sporadic, but at the same time, it's these characters and, a real person there working off of this very bizarre scenario. And the scenario changes every single time a different Muppet comes in. I really like that. Like Gonzo will come in and the situation will completely change. And he'll leave and then Miss Piggy will come in and the situation will completely change. So that's really great. And on top of that, like I said, the idea of satirizing streaming, especially now when that's how most people are getting their entertainment, I think is very, very clever. It's a very smart update. But in terms of the laughs, like the stuff that really, got a laugh out of me, some of them do go back to the old school stuff, like Miss Piggy's doing her beauty show, and one of the people, it feels like someone from Goop kind of comes on and says, the way this new method, this new massage is slap beauty. So, and it's just slapping her to somehow make like her skin like glow somehow, and just so this lady puppet comes in and just starts slapping like really hard, and Miss Piggy is just taking it because it's for beauty, and that's just the old school physical humor that usually really gets a laugh for me, at least in Muppets. And then something like the Swedish Chef cooking is cute because you have him going up against like a real chef. And his stuff is, of course, always terrible, or he misunderstands it. And it's a funny idea, and it got a few laughs, but it does kind of feel like it goes on a little bit. And then there's moments where, like, Kermit is talking about being a photobomber, and with the exception of one scene where he's drinking the tea, which is great, satirizing the meme, it just didn't get a laugh at all from me. And it didn't feel like there was that much charm to it. It didn't feel very Kermit either. But I feel like that's always kind of been the Muppet shows as well. Like there's always that little bit of awkwardness that sometimes works to his favor, sometimes doesn't. And right now I feel like it's kind of in between, that there's kind of, I really feel like there's possibilities for this show. Like this could really become something very clever and very funny and ongoing, especially as more things evolve with streaming. I think this is a very, very smart idea. It's just trying to find the proper footing as, I guess, everyone else. I mean, with streaming, when we think about it, it's still, in the grand scheme of entertainment, it's not that old, a form of entertainment, is it? So, I mean, people are still finding their footing with that, and so I feel like the Muppets are going to find the footing with that as well. But I like to see it continue. I like to see more with it. I think it's funny because the last Muppet show they tried, everyone said it was too cynical, it was too mean. This one is almost too nice, too innocent, but they mix it up just enough with that little bit of cynicism. It's something where I could even use a little more. I could use a little bit more of like the cynicism that came from like the Muppet movie or Great Muppet Caper, or even the Muppet movie that came out years later and Muppets Most Wanted. I could use a little bit more of that cynicism. But what we got, I think kids will really like. It's very, very kid friendly. I think adults will like to see the Muppets doing their thing. I think the one thing I think people are going to get a little upset about, on top of you not seeing them interact behind the scenes, I think diehard Muppet fans aren't going to like that. I think some of their voices might be a little distracting. I don't know. I guess I haven't seen much of the Muppets recently. I mean, I did see, like the last Muppet Show and stuff like that, but in terms of clips and stuff like that, I must have been out of it for a bit because I think they got a new voice. They definitely got a new voice for Kermit. It sounds like they have a new voice for Fozzie, and everyone sounds off. Which is expected when you get a new voice for somebody. And I mean, as soon as they got a new voice for Fozzie, in my opinion, he never sounded the same. He never sounded right. But a lot of the replacement Kermits sounded right. The replacement Miss Piggy sounded right. And these sound a little off, but the timing is still good. The delivery is still good. Like these are still, performers that know comedy, and they move very funny, and their deliveries are very funny. But it could also use, like I said, I think I need a little bit more of like the heart from them. Just a touch, just a little bit. It's funny because there's like the things that people love about most. They love the heart and the charm, and they also love kind of the cynical edge to it. That needs to be amped a little bit more. Both of those need to be upped a bit. And I think the way to do that is to have more behind the scenes stuff. Honestly, that's it. Because I feel like just the more you have those characters together, the more, and they're so well defined, I think the more that'll evolve. The more you'll see more of the heart and more of the cynicism. That should be just the right amount, in my opinion. So I do recommend it. I say give it a shot. I really like to see it definitely grow because I think there's a lot of potential here. I think the Muppets are still great characters. This is a really great idea. I think the elements that are missing are not difficult to add, and we'll see if they do add it more as the show goes on. But those are the elements that are lacking a little bit, like not enough to ruin it, in my opinion. I think for some people, like I said, diehard Muppet fans, I think they're probably not going to like that. But in my opinion, it doesn't ruin it, and I think they can add it as the show goes on. So I liked it enough. Again, we're only going off of one episode, but it gives you an idea what the show is about, because some people even saw the ads for it and they're like, well, okay, but what is it? What is this show exactly? So that's what it is. It's a satire of streaming and online shows, and but with the Muppets, obviously the Muppets going in and doing their thing, and it's not bad. It's not great yet, but I think it has the ingredients to be great. They just need to add a little bit more of some of those ingredients and mix them up a little bit more. But I think there's potential for something really good here. So let me know if you saw the show. What did you think? Also, were you a fan of the other Muppet shows? Where do you think it ranks so far? Again, I mean, just going off of one episode, I know it's hard to judge an entire show by that, but but we do. We still like to say, was that a good episode? Am I going to keep watching it? So I definitely want to see a little bit more. I think right now there's at least 6 episodes scheduled, and I'll watch them. I'll watch all of them to see how it goes. But I enjoyed it enough, and I'm curious if other people are going to fall in the same camp, or are they just going to be like, no, this isn't the Muppets, this is just something too different, too off. So I'm really curious to know your thoughts. Did you get into it, or, did it just not grab you? So that's about it. I'll see you next time. Take care.